There are two of them. There we go. Oh, so it's vertical. Hello? Hello? It's vertical. Hello? Can you all hear me? I just want to make this, can you guys hear me? I know, I made sure the microphone was on, but can y'all hear me? Okay. I'm sorry that the stream is so late. We're here. Freaking notifications. We all know why we're here. You see the title of the stream. Also, yes, I have a new streaming app. This is my first time using it. You might have saw it decided to fucking duplicate the stream. That's okay. I have a new streaming app. We're gonna see how things go with it. We're just gonna see how things go. Who the hell is spamming hearts? Because I see you spamming hearts. Anyways, we are here today to read an old fanfic of mine called I Can't Let You Change My History. I guarantee that pretty much all of you have not read it yet. And I am here to read it. Now, how am I going to do this? There are a total of 5 chapters and a 6th one in Japan. In Japan? in the drafting works. So we're going to read it. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, we may or may not get ads while reading this, because I refuse to pay anything for Wattpad, especially since I don't fucking use it anymore. So that's what's going to happen. We're going to go in. We're going to even read the fucking draft of chapter 6. Okay? I'm going to read it out loud to you. If there's any grammar mistakes of anything of any kind, just keep in mind this fanfic was made. When were you fucking made? I have no idea. You were made? I don't know when the fuck you were made. You know what? It's not important. But we're going to read the description or summary of this map. And then of this fanfic. I can't speak tonight. I cannot speak. Anyway, it says, the present country suddenly appear in a new world. But it turns out it's not new at all. It was a world from a past. A past some don't remember. They were made some old faces they haven't seen in a while. One face pisses them off, and they try to get rid of them because of their demeanor. But something, or we'll say someone, prevents them from doing so. How will they return? How can they get rid of this little monster? Can they stop him? So, that's the dramatic reading. So, let's get started, shall we? Let's get fucking started. Chapter 1, we get straight into it. No beginning chapter, nothing. Nothing. And this way, also guys, I just realized you don't have to no longer break your necks to try to read my screen. You no longer have to break your fucking necks to try to read. You guys no longer have to break your necks. Alright. Are we all ready? Are we all ready for this? Of course. Are we all ready? You guys are having your own little fucking conversation. Okay. Okay, here we go. Why is everyone in my chat right now either a country or a fucking state? Except for Squid. Squid is stupid. Anyway. Here we go. Welcome to, I guess, Spy Reading Stuff. This is my own fanfic, so. Everyone groaned as they came to, but they can't remember what happened. Well, something happened, to know from the get-go. But they weren't in the right place. This place felt weird, and familiar, too. Where are we? Poland asked, looking around. He helped a few other countries around him to their feet as he looked around. I'm not sure, but it does seem familiar to me. Honey? France turned to the UK. She had to make sure she wasn't crazy. Yes, it is familiar, sweetheart. But why? The UK said, standing to his feet. But first, is everyone all right? You like my British accent? Everyone looked at each other, making sure no one had any injuries. Soon they all responded to the UK's question, saying yes or nodding their heads, telling him that everyone was okay. I think we're all good, Dad, Canada said, double-checking on everyone. He couldn't see anything wrong, or neither did anyone else. Wait! Where are our masks? Italy said, noticing quite quickly that they weren't there, and quickly jumped back in fear. By the way, side note, this was made during the time of the corona's, deadliest period. So that's why Italy is acting the way he is. This is literally written in COVID time. So that's why Italy is, that's why that's there. Side note, for anybody curious. Hold on, Italy. I not feel anything. No corona, no nothing, Germany said, holding its head. He didn't feel sick at all. Everyone agreed with him. Okay, something's up. Something's up then. Corona couldn't have packed up its things and left all of a sudden. Russia burst it out. He was right. What was happening? This is certainly something, China said. He was happy to didn't have corona, but it was odd. Okay, how can a pandemic just suddenly disappear? Texas said, popping out of America's head. He looked at everyone with his little eyes as he floated there in his little ball form. I don't want to add little. Could it be the same reason we're all here, Texas? California responded. He also popped out and floated right next to Texas. Yeah, but where is here? Pennsylvania said, looking around. At this point, states were popping out one by one. That's a good question, Pennsylvania, but sadly, we do not have the answers yet, Mexico said, looking at the little floating ball. I kind of wish he did have the answer, though. As much as I love you, little troublemakers, I think it's best you stay with your father for now. I don't want one of you... I cannot read. I can't even read my own fucking writing. I don't want losing one of you in this forest, the UK said, looking at his grandchildren. Losing family was the last thing he wanted. Soon the states were back with America. Everyone looked around at their surroundings, trying to figure out where they were was top priority. But suddenly a girly scream was heard. Suddenly a girly scream was there. So there. You forgot how to speak English. Shut up. What the hell was that? What the hell was that? The Shirley and looking in the direction of the scream. I don't know, but let's check it out, New Zealand responded. He knew that scream couldn't have happened all of a sudden. Everyone together went towards the scream. They stayed close together so they wouldn't get lost in the woods. Soon they came across some thick bushes. It blocked their path inside, but they could hear voices. Jacinta Reich, I would calm down if I could get an explanation for this thing! Fascist Italy yelled. The second everyone heard him, they knew the dead countries were here too. Oh, great. They're here, too, Belgium said in annoyance. He didn't want to deal with the dead countries. As well as whatever was in this world. Yep, but how do we get to them? The Netherlands said, trying to find an opening through the bushes. But he wasn't having any luck. And the one time I didn't bring my machete, Australia said. The one time forgetting to bring it, he needs it. Suddenly, Suddenly, a loud bang was heard. It was close to everyone since it was holding their ears because it was loud. Everyone looked in the direction where it came from and found America holding a shotgun, pointing up in the air. They looked at them for a second. He looked at him for a second before flying through the hole he made with his wings. My boy, are you trying to give us a heart attack here? Besides, was that really necessary? The UK asked as soon as he saw his son just hovering above. The way his son thinks sometimes confuses him. I think he scared us more than you guys, Soviet called out. Anyways, how does that help us? Not all of us can fly, bro, Canada called it out. He wasn't sure his brother wasn't sure what his brother was planning, but it probably wasn't safe. America pulled out Alaska from his head and looked at him. Alaska immediately knew what his dad wanted him to do. He took a deep breath and blew a cold wind on the bushes. Soon they returned into ice bushes. South, I need some of your craziness, Alaska said, turning towards his dad. Soon some of the 50 states started glowing. Yeah! Texas was the first out, leading the charge. He came down and broke a portion of the frozen bushes with his feet. Not long after, the rest of the South came jumping out, each one of them broken a part of the frozen bushes, clearing the way for the others. After they were done, they began dancing and being crazy. Well, that's one way to clear a path, France said, a little surprised by this, but not too much. She wasn't too surprised about what her grandchildren can do. You guys could have given us a bit of a warning before doing that, Russia said, looking at the southern states. I think that shotgun shot scared us the most, Third Reich said, who had fascist Italy in his arms. He wasn't too happy about this, and this caused America to giggle evilly. We can't help but to agree with you on that one. What the hell is wrong with you? Belgium asked, looking up at the flying country. He wasn't sure what went through America's head for him to do that. Hey, you should be thanking us for getting those bushes out of the way, Georgia said, putting its hands on his hip. Yeah. Yes, thank you for giving me a heart attack, the the Russian Empire said, looking at them funny. Hey, you should be lucky you're already dead, or you could have... South Carolina turned to talk to the Russian Empire, but soon was met with something else. Why'd you stop talking, South? Virginia turned and saw what? Why, South Carolina stopped talking. Everyone turned their faces, and everyone looked in faces they haven't seen in years. They also saw themselves, like how they looked back in the day. Everyone was speechless. They slowly walked towards the dead countries, not taking their eyes off them, while America rounded up his states to join them. Pardon, dead countries, would you like to tell us what is going on here? The UK, slowly turning his head towards the dead countries. Everyone was so confused. To put it simply for you, we're in the past. 1862, if I'm not mistaken, Precious said, having his hands behind his back. He looked a little too calm about the situation. 1862? What? 1862? What? How did we get here? Australia said, losing his mind. He thought time travel was impossible. By our knowledge, someone from our hell sent us here, the Ottoman Empire said. Besides, all we know is that hell is the only place we know that beings can time travel. So if that's the case, why can't we get back? We all know we can't stay here, the Philippines said, knowing that messing with the past is not a good idea. No, because we were all teleported here by someone else's magic. It would be deadly to try to return home, Soviet explained. Him and the other dead countries have seen what happens, and they don't want it happening again. Look, well, crap, we're stuck here for a while, Italy said, crossing his arms. He wasn't too happy knowing him and everyone else was stuck in the past because of a jerk's magic. Well, it can't be all that bad, Italy, Poland said, putting a hand on Italy's shoulder. He was trying to be positive. It is bad because who the hell is this little double next to Pass America? Fascist Italy shouted, pointing at one of the passos. He looked quite similar to America. He had a blue square in the top left corner of his head with a circle of stars. He had two bright red lines with a white line in between. His uniform was quite similar to Pass America's. His eyes were pure black, which made him look a bit emotionless. That's Confederate, Fascist Italy. DC came hopping out to handle the situation. He was still in his little floating ball mode. What? Fascist Italy immediately looked at the capital. He was confused. That's Confederate. Well, the past version of him. DC explained calmly. He looked at past Confederate for a second before looking back at Fascist Italy. How the hell do you know that's the past version of him? Fascist Italy said, getting down out of Third Reich's arms. He looked at the capital with the "Are you sure?" look. DC sighed and turned. He turned into his human form and walked over to Past Confederate. He looked up at him with calm eyes, while Past Confederate looked as confused as heck. I have a little request for you, Confederacy. DC spoke, wasn't taking his eyes off him. And what would that be? Confederacy responded. He was not comfortable with the situation. Do you mind showing us your battle flag real quick? Because someone didn't learn their history. DC looked at Fascist Italy before looking back at Confederacy. Sure, I guess. Confederacy was still confused, but he played along. He closed his eyes, and a few seconds later, his flag changed into the battle flag. Everyone was shocked. Oh my God. He looked like America's freaking twin back then, Indonesia said. He wasn't expecting Confederate America that used to look like twins. DC just chuckled at this. As soon as America signed DC to return, he turned into his ball form and flew back. He left the words thank you behind to tell Confederacy thanks. Of course, Confederacy turned his flag back. Anyways, what were you going to tell us before all this happened? Past UK asked, looking at the dead countries. We were going to say we're from the future, the Russian Empire said. He spoke calmly. The what? Past France said. She wasn't sure if she was hearing him correctly. We're from the future. On future you, that was future DC, if you were curious. France said, pointing at America. DC popped out again. What? You're from the future? I find that kind of hard to believe, as Texas said, crossing his arm. There's no way these buffoons were from the future. Oh, it's true, past me, Texas came out. He was wiggling a little bit in the air. Keep in mind, this is only chapter 1, by the way, guys. We still have, 5 more chapters to go through. Texas, you okay? California said, popping out as well. Something was up with Texas wiggling. No, there's an itch on my back and I can't get it, Texas said, trying to get the itch. He was failing miserably. California just chuckled and went over to help Texas. The others were giggling at this as well. Texas looked over at them with a mad look. Y'all better stop laughing over there. I'm going to get you, Texas said. He was slightly a bit annoyed. Come at me, cowboy, Rhode Island said, getting up in Texas's face. He wasn't scared of him. After California was done getting Texas's itch, Texas pounced it. He was all over the smallest state in a heartbeat. He wasn't hurting him, just giving it to him. The others tried to stop them. Oh, but it got worse. Soon the states were in a big tickle fight. It was a big mess where you couldn't tell who was who. Everyone immediately backed away. The sick in Texas jumped on Rhode Island. My boy, get control of your children, UK called out. He still couldn't understand how America deals with them on a daily basis. But America was too busy laughing at the whole thing to hear him. Other countries were laughing as well. It was funny seeing the states do the things like this. Good old fun. Keep in mind, this is just chapter 1, everyone. This is just chapter 1. America knew he had to break it up now. Using his power, he made a beam to part them. This caught everyone a bit off guard, but the states turned toward our father. Does this... Yes, past me. This happens quite often. But it's not done yet, France said, smirking. She knew what was about to happen. Without a moment to spare, the states attacked their father in a quick motion. America fell to the ground and immediately started laughing and fell to the ground. Well, that should keep them occupied. That should keep them occupied, Germany said, turning to their passos, who were so confused, except for Confederacy and past America. Does this happen a lot? Past Prussia asked. He was a bit weirded by this, mostly because of the time they were in. Oh yes, this is one of their favorite games to play, which isn't dangerous, Russia said. This got the passo's attention. Well, since we're going to be stuck here for a while, do any of you mind letting us stay at your place? The UK asked, looking at their passos. They needed somewhere to stay. You can stay with me. My house is big enough for it to hold all of you, but you have to answer our question. But you have to question the answers for us. I don't know what I was typing there. Past Russian Empire said. Having won a harm behind his back, there were quite a few questions that needed to be answered. Fair enough. Come on, everyone, the UK said. Getting everyone to rush to the Russian Empire. Then he noticed his son was still on the ground, holding his states with a big smile on his face. Come on, America. This includes you and your little devil children. America was still giggling as he got up with his states in his arm and jogged a little to catch up with the others. He knew this was going to be a day. That's chapter 1, everyone. That was chapter 1. I guess before we continue, what do you guys think of chapter 1? What do you guys think of chapter 1? Or you guys just... What do you guys think of chapter 1? No gay vibes? What are you guys doing? Guys! What do you guys think of chapter 1? That was a long chapter, sad. It was okay. I was more focused on the Soviet Union. Funnies. Yeah, by the way, that's just one chapter. We have plenty more to go on. Alright, chapter 2. Here we go. Oh, come on, you big baby. Hiding isn't going to help you, Jess said, lightly pulling on his hoodie. Jay, you know why he's acting like this. I would be too if I was in a situation, AJ said, trying to stop Jess from bothering him. He felt bad for him. Oh, I know, I'm not stupid, Jess said, turning her full spider body around to face the imp. She crossed one of her arms and had the other pair on her hips. Can you two shut up and explain to me why you pulled me down here? CSA said, Confederate said, turning his head halfway to look at them. He never liked being down here and never will. Confederate was minding his own business when suddenly he was pulled down by Jess, who was a demon spider. He soon met up with AJ, the imp, and Crystal, the size-changing black cat. They were Confederate's friends down under. If he wasn't with America, then he was with them. But this time, he just wanted to be alone. But that wasn't an option for Jess. She was one of those you hate but love type of person. She was a good friend, but annoying. Do you really think we're going to leave you up there all miserable? The answer is no. So we're here to help you relax and calm down and soon before you know it, you'll be with him again, Jess said so happily. Smiled was so big too. Well, that is true. It's hard seeing you like this, dude, even though I wouldn't have pulled you down here, AJ said, turning his head towards Jess. Yeah, Confederate said, rolling his eyes in annoyance. He wasn't in the mood to be with them. He doesn't hate them. He just wanted to be alone. Sorry, C, but we hate seeing you like this. I hate seeing you like this, Crystal said, jumping onto Confederate's lap and rubbing up against him. She never liked seeing any of her friends upset. Not to mention that you still have some bad emotional problems, AJ said, looking at him. Even though Confederate has gotten better controlling his emotions, he still struggles with moments like this. Confederate only looked down. He knew they were right. He does have a hard time with these situations. He isn't sure why, though. Something's wrong with him, isn't it? That's why you're like this. Something's wrong. And you can't go and fix it, Crystal said, looking up at him. She had the closest connection with Confederate out of the three. Maybe. Yeah, there's something wrong. Confederate closed his eyes. He couldn't stop his condition. He knows he's the only one who can fix it, but how can he fix it if they're in two different times? AJ, is there any way we can get him there? Jess asked. Yes, but it will take some time. Firstly, whoever sent them there put up a barrier, preventing us from opening a portal to that time. And then they also put a spell to prevent and get rid of any diseases like the coronavirus, AJ explained. He was walking back and forth as he talked. Well, at least that's the one good thing they did, Confederate commented. He hated that damn virus. Yes, but we have to do that to you if we want to send you there. Because you might be dead and the virus doesn't affect you, but you could carry it to that time. And then we would have a bigger problem in our hands. AJ said, pointing at Confederate. Besides, you know that the 1860s wouldn't be able to handle such a virus, Crystal said, adjusting her position so she could sit on his lap. Correctly, Crystal. Even though it isn't a hard spell for my friend to conjure up, the hard part would be breaking through that barrier. With it up, we can't get you there. Excuse me. AJ put his hands behind his back. He almost said the M word that Confederate would have killed him for saying. How long do you think it would take to take that barrier down? Confederate asked. He already knew he had the feeling what the answer was, but he asked anyway. With how things are going now, about 2 weeks, AJ said. It began working on the barrier as soon as it could. It began working on the barrier as soon as it could change. Kill me now! Confederate groaned, leaning back. He thought a few days, not 2 weeks. We just started working on it, Confederate. It's going to take a while, especially with how strong it is. Besides, it's an estimation how long it will take. It could change, AJ said, trying to reassure him. Though, the resistance probably wasn't going to work for him. It doesn't matter. 2 weeks is way too long. They'll start being suspicious about him. And he'll be pinned into a corner and calm down. We'll make those 2 weeks fly by before you know it. But first, we need to calm down your stressed mind. Come along. Jess cut off Confederate. She stood straight up again and began walking. AJ followed, and Crystal jumped off of Confederate's lap to follow as well. Confederate just sighed as he stood up, pulling the hood of his green camo hoodie over his head and started following them. He kept his head down because he still didn't want to be here. After some time of walking, they arrived at a popular bar in Hill. Confederate never learned its name because he didn't care, but he knew the place. Follow me. I know how we can distract your mind, Jess said happily as she pulled the doors open. Drinking isn't gonna solve anything, Confederate said, putting his hands in his hoodie pocket. He didn't like to drink when he was upset, only when he wants to party. We're not here to drink, silly. We only came through here to get to it. Since the building doesn't want to have a door of its own, Jess said sassily as she began guiding them towards a little hallway. I think I already know where we're going, AJ said with a smile. He knew it probably would help Confederate calm down a bit and get his mind off of the situation. As soon as they arrived to some cute-looking doors, which was odd since it was hell, just pushed them out, revealing the retreat they called End Your Pain. They walked in, but Confederate kept his head down. Here's where we'll end your stressed-out mind and help you find inner peace, Jess said loudly, throwing her hands in the air before turning around. Oh, I love this place, Crystal said happily. She danced in a little circle. If you didn't see, I work here. And this is where we'll start calming yourself, Jess said, getting up in Confederate's face. She had a sassy smirk on her face. No, thank you. I do not need relaxation, Confederate said. He turned away and began walking away. He wasn't dealing with the day. Suddenly, two workers stopped him. They turned him around and began pushing him back. They were giggling as they did though. Confederate was taken back by this. Oh, no. We can't have you walking out on us. Come on, you'll love this, Jess said, putting an arm around Confederate and began pulling him into her station. Confederate could only grumble to himself as he didn't know how to get out of the situation. So for now, he'll just roll with it. That is chapter 2. Listen, guys. After I'm done reading the story, I'll leave a link to it. So if any of you have Wattpad, you can go read it yourself. Very rare. What do you mean jump scare? Yeah, but this is chapter 2. We're gonna get to chapter 3 now. I'll watch chapter 4. Okay, somebody else is reading. But like I said, I'll send a link in the chat. I know you're reading it. Don't spoil anything. What are you all talking about? That is chapter 3. We're going to go on to... I mean, no, that's chapter 2. We're going to go on to chapter 3 now. You guys ready? Chapter 3 time. You guys ready for chapter 3? You guys are doing everything you can to avoid hearing... Well, too bad. You guys are going to hear me anyway. This is not one of those times where I'm working on a video. Well, we're going to chapter 3 anyway, because you guys agreed we're going to read this whole fucking thing. Alright, chapter 3. Everyone was sitting around chatting with one another. After the past Russian Empire gave them their rooms, they stayed to their part of the deal. Well, not everyone did, but mostly everyone. So you are my great-grandson? Past Prussia said, looking at Germany. He was pretty amazed. I must say, you've got some of my features. Oh, thank you, Germany said, responding in German. Even though he still can't talk to his great-grandfather, it still felt nice seeing him alive. Yes, a proud addition of our family, although not all generations have been good, Prussia said, also in German. He slowly looked at the Third Reich with a nasty look. I have made mistakes too, father, the German Empire said, looking down. He also spoke in German. Yes, but yours are not as bad as your son's, Prussia said, looking at his son. His calm German tone came through. Third Reich only rolled his eyes in response. He didn't really care what his grandfather thought of him. He was only bringing justice to the German people after his father's failure in World War I. Let's be glad I don't follow in his bloody ways, Germany said, still in German. He only chuckled at his own comment. Yes, we can agree on that. You remind me that there's good that can still break through, even in the darkest of times, the German Empire said, looking at his grandson smiling. Sometimes he sees Germany as his own son instead of the Reich. Oh boy, another stupid family reunion thing, North Korea said in Korean. He crossed his arms in annoyance. Oh, be you quiet, you. You don't know what a family is because you gave up on yours years ago, Poland said, looking at North Korea. He wasn't going to deal with his crap today. North Korea just snarled at him before mumbling to himself. South Korea just sighed and scooted away from him a little bit. Poland just rolled his eyes. He couldn't care less of how North Korea thinks of him. Is this a normal thing with you? Fasuk asked. He looked a bit confused about what was happening in front of him. Yes, this is normal, for us at least, France said in French. She sighed and leaned back a bit. I'm concerned about that thing, Fascist Italy said in Italian, pointing at Confederacy, aka Basque Confederate. Can you please stop worrying about him? We already know who he's the past version of. The Japan Empire said in Japanese. She looked at him with the shut up already. I know that, but still, Fascist Italy said, still in Italian. It was still very strange of him. Well, maybe because you're not used to seeing him without his battle flag look, a voice said in Italian. Maybe, but wait a minute. Fascist Italy paused for a minute, turning to see whose voice was that. He saw the dead face of Washington, D.C. looking at him, which caused him to fall backwards. When the hell did you get here? I've been standing here for 5 minutes and 15 seconds, D.C. said. He walked outwards for a bit before turning towards Fascist Italy, who was on the floor. D.C., are you trying to give somebody a heart attack? London said, popping out to deal with him. Sometimes he thinks D.C. thinks there's stuff that does stuff on purpose. And these stuff on purpose. I can't talk. I cannot talk. What? He's already dead. He won't die from it if he did get one, D.C. said, turning towards him. I'm talking about everyone else who is alive, London said, pointing out everyone else. Well, I didn't do anything to them now, did I? D.C. said, mimicking London's accents. London only sighed in annoyance. He didn't want to deal with us here, and D.C. couldn't have cared either way. Wait, D.C. is here. Where's America? Australia said, noticing that America was nowhere nearby. He's still in his room, asleep with his babies, so I came down here to answer any questions our past selves might have, D.C. explained. He stood there calmly as he spoke. And you just left him there, Russia said, looking at him with a confused face. Russia? D.C. turned his attention to the biggest country before speaking, in Russian. I've been with the United States longer than your existence. You weren't born yet in this time, so I quite know a few things about him than you. I know what is and isn't allowed, what works and what doesn't work. I repeat, don't question my actions here. You are not my country. I am not your cap. Suddenly, D.C. was cut off from his rant when somebody cleared their throat. It was loud to get everyone's attention. Everyone turned to see who it was. They were surprised. Sir, when did you wake up? I thought you would have been out for a good few hours, D.C. said. He was taken aback, looking back at the country standing before him, looking at him with a calm, tired look. America looked at D.C. before looking at everyone else. He looked back at his capital and moved his head, telling him to return. D.C. didn't hesitate and quickly rejoined America. I couldn't help but agree with DC on this one. You should still be asleep, amigo. Mexico said. He knew it wasn't like America to wake up from a nap without somebody there to wake. America walked over and plopped himself between Mexico and Canada. He only sighed heavily and just sat there with one arm around his Canadian brother. You know, America, you can go and sleep, right? You can talk to the past self tomorrow. It's not like we're leaving anytime soon, so just... Poland was cut off by America giving him a mean growl. Poland jumped immediately and decided to stay quiet, shaken a little by this. Amigo, calm down. We all know how you are without your, rest, so just... Mexico was met with the superpower slowly turning his head towards him, telling him without speaking, shut the freak up. A moment of silence entered the room. None of the presents knew what to do, and the past were shocked at what they witnessed. America just turned his head to the past selves, looking at Confederacy, and then looking down. How about we stop with those questions? Japan chimed in, trying to divert the tension in the room. Everyone agreed and began answering the questions their past selves had here, except for Union and Confederacy. They kept looking at America and looking at each other the entire time, trying to piece together what happened. America wasn't paying attention and fell asleep after 27 minutes of being there. Hey, I'm not there yet, you fucker. Alright. That was chapter 3, everyone. We're almost done. We're like halfway there. We're halfway there. Wow. We're halfway there. Okay. We're gonna go chapter 4 now. Thud. Confederate groaned as he rubbed his head. He just rolled off his bed. He was staying at AJ's place until the problem was resolved. He wasn't exactly ready to wake up yet, so he grabbed a blanket and made a little cushion for his head. He closed his eyes and tried to fall asleep again. Just a few minutes later, the door opened. The door to his room opened, and the light came through. Confederate, are you awake? AJ said, peeking into the room. Then he saw the blanket blob on the floor and chuckled. You rolled out of bed, I see. Confederate groaned again as AJ opened the door all the way. Confederate covered his face with the blanket to keep the light from hitting his eyes. He just wanted to sleep again. Come on now, we've been waiting for you to wake up. We have some news to tell you, AJ said, walking towards the blanket blob. He got on one knee and lightly shook the blob. I don't want to hear it, Confederate mumbled from underneath the blanket. Oh, I'm sure you want to hear it. You might like what you hear, AJ said, teasingly. He was trying to get the sleepy thunder out from underneath the blanket. Confederate just shook his head in disbelief, not wanting to get up, nor hear the stupid news. He just wanted to be alone. AJ sighed and got back to his feet. He knew he wasn't going anywhere with him. Okay then, I'll leave you be. I just thought he would be interested. We managed to find a way to get you to him, but I guess I was wrong. AJ said, walking towards the door. His master was right. He wasn't in the mood to hear it. Excuse me, what? Confederate finally lifted his head off of the blanket. He looked at AJ, even though the light was still hurting his eyes a bit. Nothing, Confederate. Just go back to sleep. I'll tell you when you're in a better mood, AJ said, still with a little smile before closing the door and walking away. Confederate forced himself to get off the floor and stretch. He quickly grabbed some clothes and put them on before leaving the room. He ran after AJ, who didn't really get very far, and he made it to the stairway when Confederate. Whoa, slow down there, Confederate. You could hurt yourself, AJ said, holding Confederate. The last thing he needed was for him to get hurt. Oh, like I give a damn if I get hurt. Now tell me what you were gonna say. Confederate said, looking down at AJ. He was already dead, so who cares if he gets hurt? Well, I think we need to let my friend do the telling. Come on, AJ said, lightly pulled Confederate by his arm down the stairs. Also, your flag changed, by the way. Confederate only rolled his eyes, didn't care that his flag changed. That was the least of its concern. His flag changed and went to his white flags. But this was the only one of his flags. But this one only had the battle flag in the corner. No red line. They made their way down the stairs into the workroom, a place where AJ and his master did their work. Definitely a magical room indeed. Is he awake, AJ? His master spoke, not turning to look at them. Confederate never liked him. He was always creepy. Yes, sir. He just rolled out of bed, AJ said, bowing to his master. He gave a little smile, had a little smile on where Confederate rolled his eyes. Good. AJ's master turned toward them. His face was all blacked out by his cloak. His facial features, like his eyes and all, were outlined in white. All right, creeper, we don't have all day in your creepiness. Tell this news and we'll be good. Besides, I don't want to stay in the same room as you forever. Confederate said, trailing behind AJ, keeping his distance while AJ walked right up to him. He just wanted to hear what he wanted and leave. Oh, Confederate, I don't think we ever properly introduce ourselves to each other. It's best if we get acquainted, AJ's master said, getting real close to Confederate. He smiled mostly as he did so. Confederate quickly took some steps back to keep distance. I don't care who you are, just tell me this news and we'll be dandy. Confederate was not interested to getting to know this creepy bastard. The name's Titan. Lord Titan, Titan said, turning his back to his weirdly looking cauldron, if it was a cauldron, and some glowing essence inside. Yeah, whatever, Lord Creepy Pants. Anyways, just start talking. Confederate responded. He took one step closer. He wasn't going to get any closer than that. We managed to find a way to send you there, to that time. Though it would just be you alone, Titan began, slowly turning his head towards the southerner who was keeping distance between them. I'm okay with going by myself. I don't need someone there to hold my hand. Confederate said, crossing his arms. He didn't if he wanted to be alone. I can't talk. You know what? Fuck it. Yes, I'm aware of that. But the only way we can get you there is by hitting one of the weak points in the barrier. The points are where the power is weaker than around it, Titans explained. Using his hand, the only substance in the cauldron began showing a picture of what he was talking about. First, it made a wall illusion the barrier, and some pink spots showing the weak points. I know what weak points are. I'm not stupid, Confederate said, inching his way closer. Hitting one of these points with enough force would make a big enough hole for you to fit through. Once again, showing this with his cauldron. Let me guess, there's a catch. Confederate was looking at him, but called it! Confederate said, before sighing loudly. He was annoyed by this. For us to get you there, we would have to move quickly. The barrier is quite strong, and it wouldn't take long for it to quickly close the hole we just made. So we would have to move fast to get you through there before the hole closes. Though with you being dead, it would make it a bit easier. Titan turned to look at him. He was a bit surprised to see Confederate standing next to him. Yes, I know. Is there another problem? Confederate asked impatiently. I wouldn't be there to help to make a hole. I would have to put that spell on you and send you through. I asked my fellows to help. I can I can only get a handful of them to help. The rest must focus on other matters. So we managed to, if we find a weak point, we will breach it and make that hole big enough for you. It could take a while, Titan said, using his cauldron for visuals. Great. Confederate rolled his eyes, crossing his arms and began grumbling. If luck is on our side, Confederate, we're able to send you there in a few hours. AJ said. He was quiet the whole time, but he only walked towards Confederate and stood there on the other side of him. Luck is never on our side. It will take days. Confederate stopped looking down. You don't know that. Please, think positive here, AJ said, putting a hand on Confederate's side. Yeah, like the person I'm relying on to continue existing isn't in the past with a cut on his right wing that gets bigger every time he talks. And possibly doesn't have to defend past me or anyone else there who have, through that time period, trying to kill them. There's a serious difference between learning about it and going through it, Confederate explained, turning down looking at the little imp. His breathing was more intense because of his ramble. Confederate, AJ is right. Things can still go our way if we're lucky. Even if not, it's only a delay. You know he's strong. He can keep everything in line even if he can't speak, Titan said, placing his hand on Confederate's shoulder. You know nothing, Confederate snapped, turning around and nearly punched Titan. Titan catched his fist before he could touch him. He calmly looked at the angry Southerner, who wasn't phased by his outburst. AJ, meanwhile, was caught off guard. My. How does he deal with you? It's astounding. No wonder you and him had a war, Titan said, so calmly. He was eyeing Confederate down. I'm not even surprised he didn't kill you yet. Maybe you haven't changed from your past self. The picture above the cauldron changed again. It showed a past version of Confederate nearly punching Union at a point. It would have hit if Union didn't catch it. Confederate froze from this image. Confederate pulled his hand out of Titan's. He looked down and began questioning why America didn't kill him that day. The day where they united with him with his new condition. What prevented him from pulling the bullet through his head? The reason we're doing this is to fix this mess we find ourselves in. I could easily call this off and you can watch him suffer. You would like that, wouldn't you? Titan said, walking away, before turning and facing him again. Sir, please, he's been through enough already. Who gave you permission to speak? No, you know your place, AJ. Stay there and you'll stay in one piece, Titan said before finally leaving the room. Silence filled the room. The cauldron stopped showing images and went back to how it was before this conversation happened. But the silence didn't last forever. I'm sorry, Confederate. I'm so sorry, Confederate. I didn't want this to happen. It's not why I brought you here. AJ was cut off by Confederate putting a hand on his head and began walking away. I know you didn't. You're not the one in charge here, Confederate said, walking towards the stairwell. He stopped and looked at AJ once more. I'll be in my room if you need me. AJ was alone now. He felt terrible what just happened. He just wanted to help his friend, not hurt him or make him feel bad about himself, even though there was nothing he could do. His master and his fellows can do something. All he can hope is his master doesn't call this off. We're almost done, people. We're almost done. It's time for chapter 5. Whoop, whoop. I know pretty much everyone probably went to sleep. But we're doing it. Excuse me. I like typing. Fuck you. Do we have to go back? It seems unnecessary to do so, past Pennsylvania said, floating above Union heads along with a few others. How so? We didn't ask anything yesterday. We need answers, past Missouri answered, looking at Pennsylvania. Some things need an explanation. But it's clear as day we won the war and made amends with the South. What else do we need to know? Past Pennsylvania stated. What else did they need to know? Well, I want to know what happened to the CSA after the war, past Missouri said, floating up to past Pennsylvania's face. I don't know, maybe we killed him? That's the only option I see reasonable, past New York said, rolling his eyes. How do you know that? Past Missouri said, quickly floating over to past New York. She gave him a nasty look. I don't know. What else could have happened to the CSA? We wouldn't have left him alive, that's what. Past New York said, keeping a distance between him and past Missouri. I know, but the future's unpredictable. Who knows what happened? Past Missouri said. Everyone calm down. I'm sure we'll get the answers we seek. Please, let's keep the arguing to a minimum. Union cut in. He didn't want the states arguing, especially since they were going to get answers. Yes, Father, the three states said together, as if they weren't going to argue with their father about this. Union kept making his way to the Russian Empire's place. He still couldn't believe he was seeing a future version of himself in the States. He was hoping to finally get some answers since everything should have cooled down. He stopped when he heard a stick break. He took a deep breath, turned around, pulling out his revolver and running towards wherever the sound came from. Whoa there, Blue Belly. It's just me, Confederacy said, holding his hands up a little. He wasn't expecting to have a revolver pointed at him. Though it's Union. What did he expect? Consider yourself lucky I didn't pull the trigger, Johnny Reb. I would have killed you right here, Union said, putting his revolver away. I notice. Though you do want me dead, Confederacy said, walking up to Union. It wouldn't surprise him if Union pulled the trigger. We're not on the battlefield, CSA. It would be unwise to do so, Union said, turning around and continued walking, this time with CSA beside him. Doesn't matter if we're on the battlefield or not. It doesn't change your perspective. Besides, we're both carrying our weapons, Confederacy noted. They might not be their main weapons, but they still could duke it out. Weapons to defend ourselves if we are attacked, Union stated. The Saints had floated back in his head as Confederate showed up. Oh, you Yanks and your silly rules. No one would care otherwise if you shoot me, Confederate said, throwing his head back. He was annoyed by this statement. Union stopped and looked at CSA. Do I need to explain this to you, why I can't do it, even if I wanted to? Union said, raising his voice. Confederate sighed, walking right up to Union, slightly pulling on the blindfold that the Union was wearing, and looked him in the eyes. If I was in your position, I would have done it, Confederate said, quietly and in a quiet, sinister tone. He smirked at the Star-Spangled Banner before letting go of the blindfold and continued walking. Union let out an annoyed sigh before fixing his blindfold, and after tightening again, continued his way to the Russian Empire's place. He let out a little growl after seeing CSA ahead of him. As soon as they arrived, they noticed everyone was outside, but chaos has just started as Texas threw Arizona off of him. You're not getting me down. No way, Texas said, keeping his siblings away. We'll see about that, Rhode Island said, walking up to the cowboy. He had a devilish smirk on his face and rolled up his sleeve. Oh, like you can do anything, you little munchkin, Texas said jokingly. He chuckled at like Rhode Island was going to knock him down. Don't let my sons distract you, Texas, Rhode Island said, running at the Star-Spangled running at the Lone Star State and climbing up him. "Oh, get off of me, you little rat!" Texas yelled, trying to pull this small estate off him. He wasn't succeeding. "That's Big Brother, little rat, to you, Lone Star," Rhode Island yelled back. He knew he could use his size to his advantage. He kept moving around and moving to make sure Texas couldn't get him. "Jesus Christ, will you just stay still for 1 minute?" Texas was struggling. Sometimes he would grab the little state, but then he breaks free once more. "Now where's the fun in that? It's much better this way," Rhode Island said, still moving around Texas. He could only smile at his little brother's attempts at grabbing him. Before Texas could say anything, Mississippi and Alabama came right behind Texas, grabbing his legs and pulling him to the ground. Luckily, Rhode Island moved to the front of Texas before anything. "Hey, not fair!" Texas shouted, angrily looking at the two, who were laughing their butts off about it. Rhode Island, who was laying on Texas' chest, couldn't help but chuckle along. "Aw, it was a little fun, Tex. Besides, you were getting bested by a... it was a little fun, Tex. Besides, you were getting beaten by a state who was 251 times smaller than you," Alabama said, looking at Texas. He couldn't help but smile a little. Well, after a little trick him and Mississippi did. "Well, he got lucky because I didn't want to hurt him. The little bastard's like a cockroach when you can't get that you can't get. Can't fucking speak." Texas said, looking more annoyed. He wasn't really planning on wrestling like one of his small siblings. "Aw, love you too, little brother," Rhode Island said, looking at Texas with a smirk. He sat there kicking his feet in the air, just staring at the Lone Star State. "Shut up, cockroach," Texas mumbled. He looked away from his tiny big brother with an embarrassed face. Rhode Island could only giggle about this. "What is going on here?" Past Missouri said, appearing in front of the four states. She and everyone else were standing there watching as the other states who were still roughhousing. Well, I'll be damned. I'm glad y'all could make it. We thought D.C. gave you the run for your money," Alabama said, quickly jumping to his feet, greeting them as he would anyone else. The rest of the past states, both from CSA and Union, came out as well. "Well, yeah, what's going on here?" Past Massachusetts said nervously. He wasn't sure what the hell was going on. Were they fighting or what? "Oh, we're just roughhousing, you know. Fun throwing each other around. It's great," Rhode Island said, turning onto his back, relaxing on Texas. He had a little smirk. "Yeah, like this." Mississippi got up, grabbed Alabama from behind, holding him together with two arms. He spun around with Alabama for a couple times. Alabama's feet were off the ground, and he tossed his brother off. Alabama hit the ground, but he got right up. "Oh, that's it! Get over here!" Alabama said, running after Mississippi, who was now running away. After a few minutes, Alabama tackled Mississippi to the ground. "And they're back to their shenanigans," Rhode Island said, as he watched the whole thing. Honestly, he couldn't help but smile. "This is fun for y'all," Texas said, looking concerned about how hard everyone was going. If this was the future, why were they playing this rough? Excuse me. "But of course, Past B, we're not hurting each other. We're just throwing each other around, having fun. You've done it before," Texas said, leaning his head back a bit to look at his tassel. He sat up a little bit, but to make sure Rhode Island didn't fall off of him. "Maybe not this rough," Texas said, looking a bit disturbed by this. "Because we're all a lot stronger than you think. We can take each other," Rhode Island said, crossing his legs and held his hands behind his head, just chilling away. "I find it hard to believe from someone your size," Past Virginia said, staring down at him. She had her hands on her hips and her face in disbelief. I would show you, but I can't lay my hands on you without my father getting on me, or even worse, DC. Rhode Island said, shivering at the thought of how DC would have been. Pissing him off would be a death sentence. Or maybe a certain Texas. Rhode Island immediately jumped up and covered Texas's mouth, shutting him. Texas, it would be stupid to mention him, especially without Dad's permission, Rhode Island said nervously. He didn't want the past selves knowing about him yet. Texas quickly nodded and stood up with Rhode Island in tow. Well, see ya! Texas quickly ran off. He wasn't going to cross that road yet. It was only the second day they'd been here. Can't jump the guns right now. The past selves were looking more confused. Meanwhile, America was sitting on the bench watching everything. He enjoys seeing his kids having fun, Texas being Texas, even though he can't forget about the situation he was, especially with DC reminding him. So, what are we going to do about this cut? I can't heal it. I've tried everything and nothing's working, DC said. He was in America's head, the only place where they can talk without anyone hearing us, especially the States. DC, the situation is out of our control. The only one who can heal it isn't here. We both know who that is, America responded. He didn't like the situation either, but he had no choice but to roll with it. Sir, with all due respect, we need to figure this out. Everyone's going to get suspicious after a while of you not talking. And I know being quiet is killing you. You always love speaking your mind. DC said. He already knew that this wasn't going to end well. America paused for a moment. He couldn't deny that DC was right. He was surprised that he lasted this long being quiet, but it was frustrating. All of a sudden, America felt a little hand touch his leg. He looked down, then sighed, seeing it is. I thought you were asleep. Though those sunglasses, it's hard to tell, Past Georgia said, rubbing the back of his head. He stood there awkwardly. America leaned forward and looked at the state in front of him, causing Past Georgia to jump and take a step back. He didn't realize how tall America was until now. America let out a little chuckle. Well, Past Georgia was struggling for words. He wasn't too scared of Union, but the future version of him was terrifying. America smiled and put his right hand on Past Georgia's head. He felt a big jump from the state, but it didn't surprise him that Past Georgia was acting this way. It was pretty scary. Past Georgia just stood there shaking. He didn't know what to do. He wanted to push his hand away, but his body didn't want to move. American knew how to do a talk to others. Using his powers, he made words appear and for others to read. Hey, relax, I'm not going to hurt you. America gave a calm smile. He was hoping this would calm down the state. You really expect me to believe what you say? Past Georgia said, trying to be confident, but it was hard. America sighed and moved his hand off of Past Georgia's head. Then he whistled to get his state's attention. Past Georgia turned around and watched as all the states stopped playing to see what his bonders wanted. America made Georgia's flag with his power to call him over. Georgia stepped out, looked at his father, wondered what he wanted. Then when America put him out with a smile, it didn't take long for Georgia to come running over and jumping into him. The other states continued playing. America pulled Georgia into his lap and looked at Past Georgia. Again, Past Georgia was speechless. See, I won't hurt you. America stared at Past Georgia, who was taking everything in. And then Georgia realized the situation, decided, you really think he was going to hurt you? That'd be pretty dumb to do anyway, especially you're the past and all. Oh, Georgia said, rocking back and forth, just chilling in his father's lap. I mean, just get up here. Georgia interrupted his past self and patted on America's left leg, wanting his past self to get up here. Excuse me, what makes you think I would get in his lap? Past Georgia said, looking at him in disbelief. Why would he sit in the lap of the future version of his enemy? Because it's comfortable, and hey, he's not gonna do anything. Why would he? Georgia said sarcastically, looking at his passive with crossed arms. Past Georgia turns around to look at the CSA. They were all busy talking to each other to see him. Past Georgia then turned around and took a deep breath. He walked over and climbed into America's lap. See? It wasn't that bad, Georgia said, lightly punching his passo. Yeah, whatever, Past Georgia said, being stubborn as ever. Even though he shouldn't be doing this, curiosity got the better of him. Georgia just snickered at his pass-off, and America just cracked a smile. He wasn't too surprised by this behavior. They still do this to this day, just less. Georgia, what are you doing? The Confederacy called out. He and the other CSA states were looking in shock at what they were seeing. Past Georgia jumped at this. Oh, well, nice chat, but I have to. America stood up while holding the two states. Georgia just damn confusedly while Past Georgia clinged on. America just stared at Confederacy. Everyone started staring, and America turned around, putting both states on the bench. Then he started walking back, then he turns back to Confederacy as he walked towards the past self and towered over him. Of course, the Confederacy showed no hesitation. America analyzing the situation, gets on one knee to be leveled with him. Everyone was worried about the situation. China and Russia were ready to jump in if needed. America smiled and made words appear. What did you say, Shorty? Everyone sighed in relief and started chuckling. America's smile turned into a smirk after those words appeared. Confederacy was all for. Excuse me? He tried to maintain those words, trying not to immediately snap. Can you read? You know what I said. America looked at him confused, playing dumb, of course. I wasn't even talking to you, Yankee, the Confederacy said, taking a step closer to America. Well, maybe next time keep an eye on your states and this won't happen. America gave a serious look. He didn't care about what Confederacy does. It doesn't faze him anymore. What? You talk to me? Confederacy said sarcastically, giving a little smile. No, this. America had an evil little smirk on his face, and all of a sudden, Confederacy felt pain surf through his entire body. The only pain lasted for a second, but it was enough to cause him to fall to his knees. Here we go, sir. I calibrated the watt output so he can handle it so we won't cause any serious damage, DC said, walking around Confederacy and handing America a taser. He turns to look at Confederacy before returning to America's head. What the? Why the hell do you have a taser? And why'd you use it on him? Are you crazy? Russia yelled. He was taken aback by this. Everyone was. They couldn't hurt their past selves, so why did he do this? Relax, Russia. It wouldn't do any permanent damage. Besides, it isn't the one that I use on him. America said, looking at Russia. Then he put the taser in his belt, and DC popped out again, just floating there. You're actually crazy by the... Ugh! Russia walked towards America, only to get slapped by America's left wing. It was only a light slap, but still enough to knock Russia off his feet. Mostly because it was unexpected. America just walked away with DC floating behind him. Didn't care in the world what he just did. He returned to the bench, and everyone was still frozen about what happened. Confederacy was still on his knees and taking in the whole situation. Union walked over to him. Hey, you okay, Reb? You okay, Reb? Union said, looking down at him. Union might hate him, but he still was concerned. I'm fine, the Confederacy said, shaking, returning to his feet. He didn't want the Union's help, but he did Bell against the Union if it didn't. How he'd rebel again if the Union didn't help him up. What are we going to do with him? The UK sighed, face palming. Alright, guys. We made it! Final chapter! Final chapter, everyone. We made it to the final chapter. Well, this is a draft. This is a draft. I must remind us, if you see it, it's a draft. It's not a completed chapter. And it's not that long. So, let's see what happened. So, I'm just going to read this draft. Like I said, this isn't long. Crystal, is all this climbing really necessary? AJ called out. He wasn't made for climbing, especially over big rocks and a steep cliff. Looking down gave him the shivers. RJ, stop. AJ, stop being a baby. Crystal knows what she's doing. Or should I say going? Jess said, turning her head to look at the M. She only rolled her eyes at his complaining. That's you! You're a demon spider! You're made for climbing! AJ yelled. He was struggling to keep up with the others. Well, it's been a while since I last climbed, so I'm a bit rusty, Jess said. She might be a spider, but she was never into climbing. She climbed now and then, but it wasn't her specialty. Does it really matter? You're still made for climbing, AJ said, climbing onto a rock. He was a bit out of breath. Come on, guys, we're almost there. Just a bit higher, Crystal said, turning around and jumping gracefully from rock to rock. She was so excited. Crystal, maybe next time we could try to... Ah! AJ's feet slipped off the rock where he was standing. He would have fallen if someone didn't catch him, grabbing him by the little arm at least. AJ, would you please focus on climbing instead of talking? Then you won't fall and kill yourself, Confederate said, pulling AJ back on the rock. And that's it. That's all Chapter 6 is. Like I said, this is a draft. Not even completed. But that is the full story. That is the full story that I written. So, my question is, guys, what did you guys think of it? How did you guys think? It took over an hour. I was reading it. What did you guys think? I wrote this years ago, so yes, there are grammar mistakes and blah, 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 blah. Keep in mind, this was written over years ago. And as you can tell, it was left uncompleted. Because of, yeah. Anyway, that is the whole story. That is the whole fanfic. Like I said, I should have known you guys would pick this since my channel does revolve around country humans, so it makes sense that you would pick the country human count. So yeah. That is the whole story. Am I going to continue it? Probably not. I might not continue any of my works that can be found on this Wattpad. Excuse me. But that is the whole story. The title and cover of this fanfic is on screen, so if you want to go read the fanfic yourself, you gladly can. probably the only one I would be more surprised, actually more recommending that you read. And all that. But I'm probably not going to continue, and you can't really access chapter 6 because of the draft. The only reason I can is because I'm the fucking author. You should read the other one sometime. No, I'm not reading the other one because it's like, it's late for everyone. And everyone needs to go to bed. So, I think this is where we're going to leave it off. Like I said, if you want to read it, the name is on screen. You don't have to break your necks. You can actually read it. And I'm not going to read... You want me to... I'm not going to read Rainy's fanfic. Listen, if you guys want... Listen, who would want to hear me try to read Rainy's fanfic? Like, be like the voiceover for Rainy's fucking fanfic? Who wants to hear that? Who wants to hear that? Tell me honestly, who wants to hear that? Oh my god. Okay, listen. What? Oh my god. Listen, I would have to talk to Rainy about this. Like, if Rainy's gonna be okay with me just being the voiceover part, his fanfic. I don't know how he would feel about that. That would be more of Rainy's thing. But like I said, if you want to read this for yourself, like I said, the name's on screen. And all that, and blah, 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 blah. So, you will be able to find this fanfic and read it yourself if you want to. Again, you can't access chapter 6 because it is a draft. But you can always watch this stream again if you want to see what chapter 6 was. Anyway, I think I'm going to let you guys go. I hope you guys have a good night. And, of course, a good 4th of July for any of my other Americans out there. And, I'm going to be turning 20 in 2 days. So everyone say goodnight to each other. Everyone say goodnight. Everyone say... By the way, I'm probably going to only make a community post on my birthday. I have nothing planned. Anyway. Goodbye.